And good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Thank you guys for being so flexible with these schedule changes during training camp and all the other things we have going on. A few technical difficulties this morning, but we are here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Tuesday, August the 15th. I cannot believe we are halfway through August. Phew, it's hot. And I would just say that because I'm in Houston and I'm in Texas, especially Houston, but I just think it's kind of hot everywhere. But wherever you are, here's what I say: stay hydrated. It's super important because this heat is no joke. Okay, before we get into today's show, as always, we want to tell you about the people who help us do this each and every week. A special thanks to our good friends over at I Love Jinka. They're going to be launching a new campaign any day now. So make sure you pay attention. I'll be posting it and talking about it here. But in the meantime, if you are looking for Jinka, you've heard me talk about it for well over a year now. They've been a longtime partner and supporter of Chalk Talk. It's good for all things inflammation. Most of the things that happen in our body that aren't great, soreness, blood pressure, cholesterol, all those sorts of things are the result of inflammation in our body. And turmeric is one of the greatest things for it. And their particular product that they've created with a turmeric base, you won't be sorry, right? So if you're having some challenges, maybe you're having some, stuffiness or some immune issues, you got some aches or joints and pains. I've heard people that have gotten relief because they've had gout. You need I Love Jinka. You can order it online at ilovejinka.com. But if you're in Texas, go into an HEB store. If they have a healthy living section, you should be in luck. You should be able to get some I Love Jinka right on site. And here is where you find it.
Here at HEB in the Healthy Living Department, the probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a lot of Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
And of course, there are Kimmy treats. You can get that locally at Sunshine's Vegetarian Deli at 24 minutes as well. Queen 48 and Anita Road. Vegan popcorn, the Kimmy bars, and even the body butter. You will not be sorry. You can get it there every day but Sunday because they're closed on Sundays. Go over to Sunshines and tell them you heard about it on Chalk Talk. Tell them you're looking for Kimmy treats. You'll find everything that you need. And of course, last but certainly not least, in all of this heat and this stuff in the air, what do we do about our skin? You need a good esthetician, and we have one for you. Reach out to Stephanie Serlin over at Sohum Skin. You will not be disappointed. So when you visit Stephanie at Sohum, you'll not only get good information on how to care for your skin, you will get the absolute best massage you've ever had in your entire life. Tell her you heard about it over on Chalk Talk. All right, so what has been happening a lot over the past, week since we were here together in this format? The Houston Texans played a preseason game. They went up to New England at Gillette Stadium, and they defeated the Patriots 20-9 in a preseason game. That doesn't count or doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't count in the record books, but it does matter because right now they are still, the organization, D'Amico and the staff and Nick Caserio and the staff are still in the evaluation phase. Who's going to be on this team? What will the final roster look like? What is the final depth chart going to be as they enter game one of the regular season when they get ready to go to Baltimore to face the Ravens to open the season in September? All of those are questions still yet to be answered. But in the meantime, what we do know are a few things. CJ Stroud, who has had some moments at camp. He is a rookie, and he has looked like the other rookies during preseason. A little bit out of sorts, but nothing that should make you go, oh, we got the wrong guy. We didn't get the wrong guy. He's a rookie and he's young and he's going to take, it's going to have to work through some things. Nothing that he should not be able to figure out. The same thing if you saw the other rookies like Bryce Young, and I didn't see Will Levis last night, but Anthony Richardson. It's a challenge for some of them, and so CJ, who was the first quarterback to take the field last week on Thursday night, he had a couple of good moments, but he threw an interception. He was sacked. The protection up front has got to be better, and so all of those things are works in progress and should be okay. Definitely should be a lot better by the time you get to week 1 of the regular season. So what about the other quarterbacks? Well, Davis Mills came in and played. He looked good. This is year 3 for Davis Mills. I think he completed 9 of 12 passes, threw a touchdown. And then Case Keenum, the veteran, the one that's been brought in to really be kind of the mentor to these young quarterbacks. And while CJ Stroud is the rookie, Davis Mills is in his 3rd season and is still considered a young quarterback in this league. Case Keenum was Case Keenum. He managed the game well. He also, I think he was 12 or 14, and he also threw a touchdown. No sacks, no interceptions. The defense was exciting. The defense is like, okay, this defense is probably, they kind of get after it. And we've seen that in practice. What we saw in the game is really what we've seen at training camp, the first now 3 weeks of camp. But I will tell you, one of the highlights on offense was Tank Dell. Little Tank Dell, the little engine that could, from the University of Houston, had the highlight reel catch of the night, if you will, for a touchdown. And he just was exciting. He turned some heads. And so people were like, whoa, who's this little guy, Tank Dell? What's he going to do? It's early, and one of the things that the coaches talked about that they've liked about Tank Dell is that he has really embraced the blocking game. I mean, he's a $165, he's 5'8", but he really tries to get better in all areas of what it takes to be a good receiver. And so, how good will Tank Dell be? We will see. I mean, he'd be great if he had like a Will Fuller guy on the other side so they wouldn't have to key in on him. But he's been electric, right? He has been. And talking to a colleague at practice at camp yesterday, it was like, well, who does he remind you of? Who is he put you in the mindset of? I had one person say a couple of weeks ago, Tyreek Hill-ish, but Tyreek is bigger, right? He's 200 pounds. I mean, he's a bigger body frame, and he's really fast. Tank is quick, and I think maybe more T.Y. Hilton-like. But I think it's just, I'm not, just to give you a sense of who does he put you in the mindset of, but ultimately Tank is Tank. So what is Tank going to do? We will see. They will play. They have 2 joint practices coming up tomorrow and Thursday. The Miami Dolphins will be in town, so they'll get to practice against somebody other than themselves. Then they have a preseason game on Saturday against the Dolphins. So we'll see a little bit more of what how these receivers look against competition, how this defense looks against competition. I mean, we have some high hopes for the defense, the secondary, and they will be tested with the Waddle and the Hill, and what's going to happen. One of the things D'Amico has said, because he's worked in the same organization with Mike Daniels, is that he really does prepare and work hard, and they're excited about these joint practices, working together and heading into the second of the Texans' 3 preseason games on Saturday at NRG Stadium. And so after practice on Saturday, maybe it was Saturday, got a chance to talk to a couple of the coaches and visited with Ben Daniels, a wide receiver coach, and really got some thoughts from him about Tank Dell. And this is what he had to say.
To be very honest, specifically in the running game, he's a smaller frame player, and like we don't, call that what it is.
Right.
Everybody's traits aren't the same, but he likes contact. His job is important to him, and he cares about the details. He cares about his effort, and he was mixing it up in the running game, as much as some of the other things that everybody watched him do in the passing game. So that'd be an example of something that we're talking about. That he just he cares about his job. He loves football, and he loves the details of it.
And Xavier Hutchinson.
He cares about his job, he loves football, and he loves the detail of it. What's exciting to me is to hear them talk about him embracing the run game, which means that this guy's out trying to throw blocks. He wants to learn it. He wants to be productive. And so I think one of the guys yesterday at camp said to me, one of the other reporters said, I'm trying to be open about Tank, but I admit I have a little bit of, I think he said sizeism, because his size. He said, I'm concerned. And so I'm trying to be open about what he could mean for this team. I'm going to try to be open, but he hasn't been super optimistic just because of his size. Okay, so speaking of Tank Dell, I'm going to let you hear from him. This is him after practice on, maybe it was Sunday. I lose, today's Tuesday, so it would have been Sunday. This is him talking about a number of things. This is Tank Dell meeting the media on Sunday after practice.
And went in and making a catch. And what you remember about it?
First, it was a great throw. I should have caught it the first time. It was a great throw by Davis, but just I work on drills like that. Me and one of my trainers, Jay Allen, like all season in the summer, we was working on like concentration drills and just looking the ball in like the small details. And I feel like the ball kind of rolled my way. God was with me a little bit, so it just came in like that.
Coaches compliment you on your blocking and being physical, being willing to block.
Yeah.
Talk about that part of your game.
That's good. I strain every play. I try to get better every play. Make sure my assignment is done. I know at UH I really didn't block a lot because I had a lot of like read options. Like he could toss it out to me if everything goes wrong. But I will stick my face in there. I'm not scared to block anything like that. So I was just trying to make sure my job was done. No, I don't know. I just feel good.
Anything else, guys?
No, with in your first preseason game, how did you manage that? Going through it, how did you review it?
I tried to treat it like any other game. I didn't want to go out. Of course, if you're not nervous before a game, then I don't think you should be playing. But of course, I was nervous. But after the first snap, it was just like any regular game. I was nervous in college, so. Of course, I had a little bit of butterflies and stuff like that, but I was ready. I treated it just like a college game. Of course, not like a college game because it's on a bigger stage, but I tried to go in with the same mindset, just go in and do my job.
What was reviewing it like? How did you spend your post game?
Say that again?
What was reviewing it like? How did you spend your post game?
After the game, on the flight, I was watching the film of it, trying to see like anything that I did wrong and what I could learn from. Of course, I was sitting there talking with X, we were just on there like trying to critique ourselves before we get into the meetings, so we could already be ahead and make sure like we know what we did wrong so we can try to get better at practice the next day and fix it.
Okay, so that was Tank Dell. I want to let you hear, a bit from him because I think listen, I said before camp started, he's a guy that I'm watching. I think he's got a chance to do some really cool things this year. I know he's small, but he's been very productive. And I think he's got a chance to continue to be productive. And so what we've seen at camp is that he's exciting. He's explosive. He does a great job at recognizing coverages. And like he said, he didn't mind sticking his head in there and doing a little blocking. So we'll see what they're able to create and what they're able to do with Tank Dell. He mentioned X. That's another young player, a receiver, Xavier Hutchinson, who has been impressive so far at camp. I think the wide receiver room, if you will, has a lot of diversity. And by diversity, I mean in terms of the kind of the talent. You've got a Nico Collins, who's a bigger frame body. What is he, 6'2", 6'3"? And you think that this is the year. You probably heard me say that Nico needs to take that next step if he can be healthy and stay healthy. Maybe he becomes a player, or that we think he can be, because he obviously has some ability. He's got the kind of size. And so maybe this is the year that he breaks through and really takes the next big step. It needs to be, because it is year 3. Then you have a guy like a Tank Dell, a little guy who's 5'8", 165, but has all sorts of quickness and confidence, which is very, very important. And you've got, John Mechie III, who really hasn't played a game in 2 seasons since the last time he played in an SEC championship game before he got injured. He came in to the Texans after the draft, and then unfortunately he was diagnosed with a form of cancer that he has recovered from and has, effectively beat. But that's a lot for your body to go through. So the fact that he is just back on the field and competing and playing, he's got to get his timing down. He's got to get his confidence back. I say confidence. It's not that he doesn't look confident, but until you really get on that field in live football action, there's nothing quite like it. So seeing Mechie, it's just seeing him get better every day is exciting and is refreshing. And then you've got, I mentioned Xavier Hutchinson, a rookie, a young guy. You've got Robert Woods, a veteran that came over from the Cowboys. So what will the spots ultimately be for the receivers? And that's not even to talk about the tight ends. You got Schultz also that came over from Dallas. So that's going to be interesting to see what that room shakes out to be. In terms of running backs, Damian Pierce will be running back one. And then, you've got a Singletary, and you've got Boone, a young player who has looked good coming in early. So there's a lot of people that they're looking at. And here's one of the things that's different this year. They're not making cuts along the way, right? Teams make all their cuts on one day. So I was talking to Coach Ryans after practice yesterday about it and just asked him his thoughts about it. And he said, it is different. So what happens is you have to always look ahead, right, to see what's happening, what's going on, because on the day of the cuts, in terms of being able to, get a player that maybe somebody else let go of, and you're like, oh, we can use this guy. Everyone's going to be scouring the waiver wires at the same time. So it will be somewhat chaos, right, in that regard. That's going to be different. But on the other side, for young players, being able to have the entirety of training camp, being able to have all of the preseason games. In the Texans case, that's 3 games before the cuts are made and decided. That's kind of a benefit, right? That's a bonus because you get a little more time to develop and prove yourself and get eyes on you. So it's different this year. A few other things that have been different that I've noticed about camp, there are some designated breaks along the way, that are mandated by the league or the Players Association. Like you can take a break if you're struggling, I'm sure, but there are designated breaks that everybody stops and either goes into the cooling tent or, sits under the other tent, hydrates. They make sure that they're really doing a good job of making sure that the players are safe, and especially in this amped up heat, if you will, that we're having. I mean, it was 104 degrees yesterday, and so that's hot. But anyway, so those are some of the things that are happening. I'm looking forward to the practices the next 2 days with the Miami Dolphins. Oh yeah, at practice yesterday, Ryan Clark and his team from the Pivot, a very popular podcast, was in town, and he was checking out CJ Stroud, and he chatted up with Jalen Petrie, who said, "Hey man, I'm a fan," and Ryan Clark said, "I'm a fan too." So that all those things are cool to see. I think one of my colleagues, Big Sorry, said, "Listen, Ryan Clark doesn't just go places for no reason. He came in to check out what this young team is doing. He wanted to get a look up close and personal at CJ Stroud." And so he was here to do that on yesterday. CJ Stroud is, people are watching and ready to see what he can do, like the other rookie quarterbacks. And so far, they're all, from the games look about the same. I'm not watching the others at practice. CJ is the guy that I see every day. CJ, Davis Mills, Case Keenum. Those are the guys that I see on a daily basis because that's the team I cover. But when you looked at what happened over the weekend in terms of games, they all kind of fared about the same. So those are some of the things as it relates to this Houston Texans team. I think everybody's kind of finding their way. You see Coach Ryans being really more hands-on with players. And I tell you, one position that's pretty exciting is the linebackers. D'Amico, of course, played. That was the position he played. It was linebacker. But, you've got, Christian Harris. You got another rookie from Alabama, and Henry Teoto. And you can tell this coaching staff really likes him. He's really smart. He's athletic. He's a sponge. That's the word that Coach Ryan's used. D'Amico said he's a sponge. He's always soaking up information and just trying to get and trying to know more. And then there's Blake Cashman. I mean, what you've seen from Blake Cashman has also been kind of exciting. So there are quite a few things for this Texans team to be excited about. And talking with with the owners, Hannah and Cal, who are out there and optimistic, and everyone talks about just the feeling and one of the most exciting things that they've seen at camp so far. And this isn't so much just the McNairs, but I've heard it from even other colleagues. They would ask, what stands out for you about camp? They say D'Amico, the D'Amico factor. So high praise to him just for the tone that he has set. But obviously what really is going to matter is how that translates when they get into games. And preseason's great, to win at preseason is exciting, but we also know that it's a lot more than preseason, right? I was trying to pull up and let you hear from Blake Cashman. My D'Amico's file somehow is corrupt, but that's okay because I'm going to pull up Blake Cashman.
Training camp's going well. Each day got to look to get 1% better, and I think just as a team in general, we're continuing to attack the process, and I'd love to see the progress, not only myself but the team.
What was it about this scheme once you started getting into it that you noticed that you were excited about?
It allows the defense and offense as well, but the scheme, we punch first. It's all about attacking, getting off the ball, and then based off that, just run and hit. And so being able to fly around and play fast with having quick keys is fun for a defensive player, especially a linebacker.
How much has D'Amico being here helped you out?
It's having a mind like that, a guy that has played the position at a high level. It's everything. He's been in our meetings a lot throughout the off season and training camp, and just his little pointers here and there and in practice, working with us as an individual has been great because like I said, he's a guy that's done it before, done it at a high level. So to share that and pass that along to us, there's a lot to continue to learn from.
Like based on your experience playing in Robert's defense, do you know any similarities between that one and your?
It's a very similar defense. Very, very similar. It's a scheme that, like I said, we attack first and allows you to run and hit. But just the techniques and the fundamentals that is required of the defense, it's that transition from when I was with New York to here has been a lot easier than learning new schemes in the past. So it's been great for me.
You mentioned punching first. I mean, offenses counter that or talk about screens. Where as a linebacker, do you feel like in relation to how an offense counters what you guys do? How do you approach that?
Well, it all starts with going back home to your base fundamentals and the techniques that the defense requires. And as a linebacker, as a back seven player, we're trained to bounce our feet and play lateral first, and you go once you know. So when it comes to a screen, we should be a step or two lateral, and then by then we should be able to recognize that it is a screen or a draw or something, and then that way we can trigger, come downhill, and make a play on the ball.
So that was Blake Cashman, and he has been one of the people that has one of the players, rather, linebacker Blake Cashman, who's I guess you could say stood out at training camp so far this year, and one to keep your eyes on. I had somebody ask me the other day, "Hey, what's going on with Christian Kirksey? He's got some sort of a lower body issue. I see him walking around with the sleeve on one of his legs. I don't know if it's a ham or calf or what it is, some sort of a soft tissue issue." And listen, Christian Kirksey led this team in tackles last year, but this linebacker group is deep, and he's missed a bit of time. I think he needs to get on the field in terms of really being able to earn a spot. I mean, will he make this team? It's not just about ability. What they say, availability is part of it. They could save some money out of the cap if they don't keep Christian Kirksey. Maybe he comes back, he's super healthy and is able to perform at the level that, many have seen him perform at throughout his career. I mentioned last season, he led the team in tackles. I think that's one to keep our eyes on. The good news is that the cut day is after the final preseason game. This week, there's 2 practices, tomorrow and Thursday. They have joint practices with the Dolphins here in Houston over at Texans training camp. And then on Saturday, there's a preseason game also against the Dolphins. And then next week, the Texans travel to New Orleans for 2 joint practices with the Saints. And then their final preseason game will be a week from Sunday. 2 days after that, I believe it's that Tuesday will be the day that they make all the cuts. And so that will be interesting. So these young men have another couple of weeks to really make their case for making this roster. The young players, the veterans who are trying to make it, everybody's got to, show them what you're working with, right? Over this next couple weeks, if you will, not even 2 full weeks, but 2 weeks from yesterday, all this week, another game, and then all next week and the final game in New Orleans. All right, so let's put a pause in the Texans for a moment and hop over and talk a little bit about the Houston Astros. So the Astros are 3.5 games back of the Rangers in the American League West. They are in Florida playing the Marlins. They lost last night 5-1. Framber Valdez was a close game until the 7th, maybe the bottom of the 7th. Let me pull up I remember watching the game last night. At any rate, it was a tough loss. Framber, lost it last night. I don't really know how else to really say that. I'm trying to pull up last night's game. So it was 2-1 until the 8th inning. The Dolphins. The Mariners were up. The Marlins were up 2-1. And then in the bottom of the 8th, they scored 3 more runs. And the Astros really just could not get it back together. The Astros had 8 hits. They had 1 run. The Marlins had 7 hits and 5 runs. However, they had in the bottom of the 8th, they gave up 3 homers, right? So you figure Framber gets you through 7. He says he feels good, and then in the 8th inning, he gives up 3 homers. Like, what do you do with that? I haven't even been on Twitter. I'm sure that people are blaming Dusty. Like, you should have known that Framber was going to give up 3 home runs in the bottom of the 8th. Should he? At any rate, Framber is now, he pitched 7.2 innings rather, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, and 4 strikeouts. He gave up a home run in the bottom of the 8th. Then they brought in, relief pitching, and Framber, of course, gets the loss, but they needed that one. They're back in action tonight, also in Miami. I'm trying to see where are the Rangers? Who are they playing? So the Rangers, the Astros are playing the Marlins. The Rangers are playing the Angels. The Angels are home, and they play the Angels. Last night they beat the Angels 12-0. The Angels have been struggling of late. Here's a story that we talked about. I haven't talked about it with you. Is the return and the emergence of John Singleton. John Singleton has been filling in at first base. Abreu is on the injured reserve list. And John Singleton came in hit his first home run in more than 8 years on Friday night. He actually hit home runs in back-to-back innings. He's been doing a good job of getting on base, drawing walks. He's been productive, but that was pretty exciting to see. John Singleton is a great story about second chances. I remember when John Singleton first came to the Astros all those years ago. He came in, he signed a 10-year deal at maybe $2 million a year. It was one of those cases. I remember when he signed it. He was a guy that was thought to have a lot of talent. And it's like, if you bet on yourself, you're not going to sign that deal, right? But what it means is it would keep you out of arbitration for quite a while. But he had some bumpy times along the way. He got suspended. He struggled with alcohol, but specifically with marijuana, a marijuana addiction, and was actually out of the league for a couple of years. Got back in the league, joined the Astros before their last road trip, right before the road trip, and was reunited with this Astros organization, and just seems ready. He said he's done things over the years in terms of therapy and to get his life to the place where he can be productive, and it was just good to see. So I really am pulling for John Singleton to make it. I love stories about second chances, men or women, whatever the case may be, who get opportunities to get it right. Maybe fall off along the way on their path or whatever their journey is, but get an opportunity to have a do-over, and more importantly, make the most of the opportunity. And that is what John Singleton is doing. So congratulations to John Singleton. And before I get out of here today, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the legal issues surrounding former President Donald Trump. This is, and the word we've heard so many times over the past several years, unprecedented. We heard it during the pandemic. We've heard it as it related throughout former President Trump's presidency, unprecedented. And now that he has been indicted in four separate cases, multiple indictments, multiple charges in these indictments, the word again is unprecedented. And I just encourage you, whatever side of the aisle you stand on, or if you say, Kim, I don't care, nothing's going to happen, I say we should care. What is the rule of law? What is the standard that's being set? It is very important that we pay attention, that we keep up with what's happening, read the information for yourself. I'm going to have a legal expert on in the next couple of weeks just to talk about some of it. But, there's so many layers to this thing. And the reason that we should care is because it's going to set a precedent about what happens in this country. And in terms of whether or not, listen, America is not perfect, right? She is not a perfect union, but democracy is important. And that really is on the table. And so it is in jeopardy. The Justice Departments around the country have been fighting to preserve it based on what the law requires and what facts have been giving them, have stated. And so I think it's important to pay attention. And let me say this: the attacks on the prosecutors, especially the ones of color. There are two women. There's the prosecutor Letitia James in New York, and of course there is Fani Willis, the prosecutor in Fulton County in Georgia, who brought the most recent indictment last night. All sorts of attacks on her, and then of course Jack Smith, because obviously if there's something that Donald Trump is accused of doing, he should not be held accountable. He should not be held accountable. He should not have to go before court and state his case as to why he is not guilty of what the charges say. When Fani Willis announced the charges last night, she did say that what a grand jury does is say these are probable charges, and that he is, like any other defendant, is presumed innocent until her office proves otherwise in a trial in a court of law. And so I think that's important. Here's the thing that was really, for me, why I care. I mean, I care because I do, right? I care about politics. I care about democracy. I care about all of it, because I know it all makes a difference for all of us. But to what the underlying message is, one of the ones for me has been that, oh, these votes in these places, like a Fulton County, which has a large African American population, the thought is those votes shouldn't count. Really, because what you're saying is like my vote doesn't count, just like what they're saying in certain places like Florida, in the state where I live, that my history doesn't count. That's a problem for me. I absolutely disagree with that. It does count. And so every place that we need to stand up for it, we need to stand up for it. So, the attacks on metropolitan areas where the crimes are alleged to have been committed, those are the cities that they want to be tried in, because, oh wait, those are not, basically those aren't his people. Well, but those are the people who you have in those communities, in those areas where the crimes are alleged, and you don't get to go somewhere else where you think that they're more friendly towards you. Let's not pretend that West Virginia is a diverse state, and you don't get to go where your supporters are because, that's not where the crime was committed. I mean, where do they do that? Do I get to do something wrong in Houston and then say, no, but you know what? I'm sure if you go to, I don't even know where you would go. I'd be much more comfortable if you would go to, I have some friends that live in Manville. Let's go out there. I mean, I don't know. I'm making that up. But so are the defense lawyers, because they have nothing else. So what I say is it's a great opportunity to study and just pay a little attention to how things should take place, what does happen, and make your own determination about it, how the cases are moved forward. But I am particularly interested in how these Black female prosecutors are being attacked and what kind of support they receive. I get it, right? I'm not a prosecutor, but I am them. And so I pay close attention to all of it and know that they are qualified, the right people for the right time, and doing the work and understand what's ahead. So what's next? From this last prosecution, from this last indictment that was released last night, Fonnie DA Willis did announce that all of the people who were indicted have until August the 25th at noon to voluntarily turn themselves in, or they will be arrested. So that's a week from Friday. You've got some time to get your things in order, call somebody, turn yourself in, do whatever that looks like. But this is a real deal. This is a court of law, and the attacks on her, she's not even responding to those. She says, listen, we prosecute cases. We do it based on the fact, based on the Constitution, based on the law, and that is what it's about. It is not about some sort of a political witch hunt. I just think it's so hypocritical that when something doesn't go your way, it must be politically motivated, and that people who don't look like you, who are not your tribe, can't be fair. Is that what we're doing now? So you mean all these years and all these senators and all these other folk, that means we don't have a shot? I say we, me, other people of color, especially, African Americans, Black men and women, because people who are making decisions and have been for years aren't us? Yeah, you got to miss me on that, buddy. Anyway, it is going to be interesting. I say pay attention. And just listen, I always encourage you to be registered to vote. Stay registered so you don't have to get registered. Understand the issues, vote your values. Don't let somebody else, not even me, tell you what your values should be. Don't let it be a rapper or an entertainer or somebody down the street. Find out for yourself what's happening and decide to vote your own values. And last but certainly not least, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Councilmember Kubash, his Chief of Staff, Sandra Strawn, who arranged for me to be presented with a proclamation from the city of Houston. I struggled with talking about it. I am going to post a little something about it on my Instagram, just because, not from a place of not being grateful. It just kind of, hey, look at me, I got this honor. It's not really how I'm wired. And if you follow me, you know that. But I don't want to seem ungrateful. I am incredibly grateful, and was really impressed that the council member in his office thought enough of me to present a proclamation. And unfortunately, Councilmember Kubash was out that day having a medical procedure. And so Councilmember Martha Casix Tatum, who's actually my council member in District K, presented the proclamation. And then the mayor named August the 8th Kim Davis Day in the city of Houston. So I say that from a place of gratitude. I wanted to share it with you, the audience. I will post it. And my initial reason for not posting it is just because I don't do a lot of the, hey, look at what I'm doing. That's not really how I'm wired, but I don't want to let the moment go unnoticed. I accepted the honor on behalf of my mother, and I know she would be extremely proud. And so if nothing else, in honor of her, I accepted it. And now we got a Kim Davis Day. So next year, August 8th, we'll celebrate it again. But in the meantime, I just say thank you guys for sticking around with Chalk Talk, being flexible during training camp with these different times. And we'll be back on our regular time again next Tuesday because of the schedule. And then I think after that, we may be on the path to regular Tuesday shows. At any rate, that's going to do it for me today. As always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. Thank you for supporting the show. Remember, I love Jinka at HEB and Kimmy Treats at Sunshines. Remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Make it a great day.